All right. Hey, see guys, what's up? We're here. Um, who do I have in Skype with me already?
Don Atreides here.
Atreides.
I think Mike's coming back.
Atreides. I'm Harkonnen. Let's see.
We are destined to be at odds.
I remember your Gom Jabbar, now you remember mine. I can kill with a word.
That is impressive. That is an
you
impressive,
kidding me? That movie?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's classic.
Let's get some
The
sleepers
David
to
Lynch
awaken.
version, of course.
Yes. Wasn't there a version of that movie that got played on television that was like 6 hours long and it had like
It was horrible.
it had the whole
Sci-Fi
like
Channel did one.
yeah, and it was like they had storyboards of like the story before Dune or something, didn't it?
Yeah, that was Dune and Children of Dune, and like they basically did all the books.
Right.
But it was horrible. I mean, it was downright terrible.
All right.
Unfortunately, like it, yeah.
I'm
Sorry,
gonna
yeah.
get to the state of the galaxies. Welcome, welcome. Gonna try to update you guys. Still the most meatiest, awesome stuff I still can't say yet, but it's so meaty I can't even handle myself. So, we got some questions in, and I'm gonna go through those. But the first thing, I just want to talk about some of the additions that you might have seen so far starting to take place. There's so many things to do. It's just, we're very, like, you'll notice on MAME, we now have a place to enter a 3-digit version number of Wolf MAME that you use. And also you'll notice in the database, in fact, here, look. Let me go there. Let's do some demonstrations. So if I list out a MAME score, we're moving towards, I'll just pick whatever, 1942. Show some scores. Oh, that's not it. Got it. We have to go through the database and trigger everything. Is it here? Maybe I have to refresh my browser. It could be it too. MAME. Could be holding the old. I see Mitten Kitten. I see Grey Goose, Ganja. That's not it. I have to clear my cache. Clear. Yeah, that's fine. No, it can't be the past hour though. I gotta show this stuff. It's cool. Has to be since the beginning of time. Okay, now let's see if that fixed it. Refresh this. And if it's not showing up, it means he's working on it because anyway, we're really close to, yeah. You should see to the right of verification method, there'll be version. Let me look and see if I try to submit on this track, will it ask for a version number? And of course, I'm not logged in anymore because I just cleared everything. Yeah, so if you look here, I type in the main version number, 106, 154, whatever, and then that gets categorized with the MAME scores in the database, and so now the players are able to see who did it on what. We were able to find some data of old scores, and so we know that starting on April 15th, 2007, Twin Galaxies only took 106. So we went through the database and categorized those scores as 106. But now we're going to start accepting any version of Wolf MAME from 106 up. But all the scores will still be mixed together in the rankings, but at least you'll be able to see what version it was. The last piece that we're trying to implement is when you create your submission and it goes into adjudication, we want it to show the version number of MAME because right now there's no spot in the adjudication form for MAME. Like if I go over to adjudicate, let me look in the submission review forum in all of its glory. If I click this, there's really no spot here that shows MAME version. But we want to add like a column and so that you can see MAME version while you're adjudicating. So once I think that'll be done today, and then I'll post an announcement that hey, it's on, and so now MAME is a much wider thing. Also, speaking of MAME, it's come to my attention that MARP is in a situation where it needs hosting, it needs to be taken over. It's been looking for that, and so been trying to reach the people who run MARP because I think Twin Galaxies can take over that hosting situation and initially just change nothing, but then slowly integrate MARP into Twin Galaxies so that you have one total repository, and bring the community together, and we'll figure that out over the course of time. But I think MARP in general is valuable. It needs to be kept alive and preserved, and Twin Galaxies will be willing to do that. So if you're watching and you know those people over there, please have them contact me before they shut it down and just lose the whole thing. That's it. So there's that. Kern ZP, what? What the? Double charges. Lots of MARP scores are higher than what's on TG. Well, here's the issue is those scores have been adjudicated differently on MARP. It's a different thing. So they're not one and the same. But part of incorporating MARP is to make those IMPs available for download, just like MARP has them. And part of that process of integration is I have to go into the Twin Galaxies archives and dig up all the Twin Galaxies IMPs to bring them online and then coordinate them with the MARP, the MAME scores we have, and figure out the integration and do it intelligently and seek counsel from the community so that the whole thing makes logical sense and it's comfortable, and then just sort of figure out how to do it, because there's no reason to not do that, assuming that the people who are associated with MARP would be interested in allowing that to happen and all of those things. So I'm just simply saying that Twin Galaxies supports MARP, supports that effort, supports emulation as a competitive platform, and wants to see it thrive and be encouraged. So they're having hosting issues. It's got to move. People are trying to pay for it. This stuff costs money, man. That's the bottom line. Twin Galaxies is not cheap. You go to Twin Galaxies website, it's not asking you for donations. It's not asking you it's not making you look at ads. It's not doing it. But let me tell you, it costs money for this thing to exist in the state that it is. And that's just our commitment. That's just my commitment to the video gaming world. Is this needs to live up to its potential, and if I got to pay for that to be able to do it, and for gamers around the world to have this platform, and I'll do it. And look, everybody's contributing to this thing by helping to adjudicate, by sending in scores, whole 9 yards. So we all do it together. So anyway, please let the MARP people know to contact me if they have that interest. I'm trying to figure out how to reach them. Don't know. Okay. Number 2 item. Sorry, Telebro, it's a question. On the website, when signing up, it tells you to please answer a question in the form. Please answer. Yes. Okay. You simply have to type in the word Twin Galaxies Live exactly as it says. That is designed to just confuse the hell out of all the bots that are constantly trying to register. We don't want fake registrations, and it stops that. Also, wait, hold on a sec. In all honesty, I don't think anyone would lose respect for TG or you if you were to implement ads. Here's the issue. I personally think of Twin Galaxies as like this authoritative church that is trying to live up to a promise of elevating players, giving them recognition, being fair, looking at things logically. And the minute you start putting ads on the site, you know, the question is, hey, there's a great 7-Up ad on the site itself. Is 7-Up starting to influence the decision-making, the process, the procedures? They're giving them money. They're giving them money, you know. There's always invites that. And if I don't have to do that, I'm not going to do it. Twin Galaxies Live, which is not twingalaxies.com, which is, you know, Twin Galaxies Live can be sponsor-driven, commercial-driven, can generate revenue that way. That's okay, because those people who are responsible for Twin Galaxies Live are not part of the adjudication system. They don't have access to scores. They're not making policies about that, and so that's okay. But Twin Galaxies itself, I want to try to keep it as pure and focused on what it's trying to do as possible. So that's why, if that makes sense. But you know, we'll do what we can. We'll do whatever we can to keep Twin Galaxies alive and surviving. It's obviously not cheap. It is not cheap. The response time of the website, you know, all this stuff, man. You know, the bandwidth. Now you've got people uploading video. Remember, when you upload a video, you're not uploading it straight to YouTube. It's coming into TG first, then TG puts it into the YouTube channel. So the huge amount of bandwidth that we have to have to take all these uploads all the time, not cheap. You need something?
I just want to kick the scaler.
Go ahead.
Like
Yeah, hold on. Neo wants to kick the scaler. $1,000 device. He's just going to kick it. Why not? That's it. So you're going to see a little. All right. Okay. Hopefully we're back. Only the jokes are cheap. Cheap jokes. Holy smoke. Okay. Yes, Telebro, you're a bot. All right, so let's move on. Really, really, really close to community ad track. I've been testing it, and you know, finding little bugs here and there. But it totally works. Like, and it's cool because I'm like, we're gonna be able to add some tracks here, and but it's just there's like these little bugs. You can't have them. You can't have. You know, like you want people to be able to see. So let's say you create a track, and it requires whatever. You know, I'm making this up. You know, 10 submission points to become real, and you contribute 1 submission point. So then that thing's sitting up in the proposed track pool, and you go to it, and you want to see how far to the 10 it is at any given moment. All users. So when people are sponsoring and contributing, you want to see the thing rise, how close it is, how far it is, how much money it's got to go towards it. But you don't necessarily want to see, or I don't think that it should be made available, how much each person gave. For now, it doesn't. You don't need to see who's contributing. All at the end, when it's finished, you'll get to see who the top contributors were, because they will become the founders of that track, right? The person who came up with the track is the founder, and then the top sponsors become part of the founders. You know, your top 3 or 5. So we're just working through those kinds of things, making sure that's working correctly. I may have mentioned this in the last broadcast, but that idea of tracks becoming investment properties for users, where if you create a track and a lot of people play on it because it's a real popular, well-thought, smart track, wouldn't it be cool if that somehow could yield you submission points back, right? Like as an investment. It's really interesting.
That's awesome.
Right? Isn't that totally cool? So we got to get there. The first thing is let's get it up working. Make sure people know how to use it. And then the next layer is, the idea of investments that you can make into these things and, so forth and so on. So that's it's really, really, really close. Hopefully we're just days away from being able to turn on the add track functionality. So
my plan is to be basically a submission points baron. I'm gonna put up a bunch of tracks, invest in them early on, and then I'm gonna retire on the proceeds. That's my plan.
To me, it's like there's just a lot of fun that can be had there. Okay, so let's move on to the actual state of the Galaxies. Moving forward, boom. TG has recently imposed a 100 CR penalty. How will the negative impact to credibility for negative adjudications scale? Seems logical that the more often a user incorrectly adjudicates, the higher the penalty to their CR. In addition, the static 100 CR should be more dynamic, taking into account a user's past adjudication history as well as the average credibility. Okay, let me try to explain this. The system has all sorts of things like this built into it already. It's just not turned on. We have to baby step through all of this together because I'll try to explain this. You have to think stages of development. You can't have everything available at early stages. Like things that work really well in an early stage of anything may not work well at a later stage because you have to change and adapt it. The whole TGSAP system is designed to work over an incredibly long period of time. So you can't what we're going through is these growing pains, right? So when we first turn the system on, just the idea of penalizing someone for being wrong about an adjudication already was just like, whoa, wait a minute, whoa. So you set the penalty low. Just get familiar, get used to the concept, the idea. If we came out swinging hard on, oh man, you're wrong, you're out, that just wouldn't have cultivated the great sort of growth and activity that we're seeing today. So that's fine. However, we did have a lot of growth and activity. And it became very clear that because the penalty for being wrong was so low, people were gaming the system, right? It allowed, whether intentionally or unintentionally, right? It allowed a certain amount of relaxed behavior around adjudications, and that resulted in this aberration where a score comes through, but after the fact, someone says, "Hey, there's this error. Didn't you people watch this?" And then you go. So that's when we go, okay. Now the good news is the way our system works is you can catch an error after the fact. No big deal. You caught it, and boom, the score's out, and boom, no big deal. In the old system, that was a huge problem because there's no way. But now, oh, no big deal. All right, yeah, you know what? You're right. After the fact, and so what happened in that particular thread was everybody who voted for it to go through actually lost, even though they won in an automated way. They went back and lost, and all the people who rejected won, right? So it all was corrected according to what the evidence was provided. That's fine. But it was pretty clear that we've moved to the next step where the penalty has to be more towards what the intention was, something you really want to avoid. So, I took a look at the statistics. I can see voting statistics and all this data about what's going on in the side on the back end. And I can clearly see that there are some users with higher, all of your CR ratings in the scheme of what exists are very low. Because it just hasn't been enough time. There's not enough adjudications. It's just not enough. But there are quite a number of higher credibility scores that would not be what they are if the penalty was 100. If you took all of their wrong adjudications and instead of it being 5-point losses on each one of those, and they were 100-point losses, you would see a pretty significant tapering. And it, so we run the numbers and we look, we go, okay, currently at 100 CR penalty, where we are in our growth and development based on activity, that's going to be enough right now to create the equalization. As the user base continues to grow, some of these other triggers are going to be turned on, like taking into account past adjudications, a multiplicative effect of being wrong once, not so bad, being wrong twice, getting worse 3 times, so forth and so on, and you kind of have to earn your way back out of it with corrections, right? There's all that stuff. But for now, the 100 should be enough to get most people's attention, to not be so quick to just go to just read a comment, oh, he agreed, I'll agree with him. Take a look, because if you're wrong in the current system, you've got 30 adjudications to do to make up for what you're going to lose if you're wrong right here. 30. So for right now, we're just going to leave it there. But yes, we're thinking about all of these things. Did that make sense, everybody? All right, here we go. Moving on. Is it possible to amend the current CR system to reward those users who actually contribute meaningful content? Okay. Here's what's very hard about what this is asking, right? The idea is there's people who contribute really, really great thoughts, ideas, content in various ways. Shouldn't they be rewarded by it somehow in the system? The short answer is yes, they should be rewarded somehow. The challenge is it's very subjective what meaningful content is. What's meaningful to one person, hey, that was great, is to someone else, oh, that's lame, right? Why is he getting extra something for writing something that's lame? That you get into this very slippery slope of what is meaningful. And so the thoughts that are starting to, initially there was a thought, we haven't implemented this, is something that we were going to call Galaxy points, which will have their own sort of value to it. And so the idea was you award Galaxy points for contributions, for thanks, for likes, for uploading into the database a picture for a game and have it be correct. And so you can kind of bounty through the database and get Galaxy points by putting pictures in, and that would help to fill out the database with images and that sort of thing. Right now, this whole idea is backburnered behind a bunch of other things that we think are more important at this time, like community ad track, getting mobile stuff working right. But this sensibility and this idea is not lost, and it's not being thought about. So just patience, please, please. Okay, moving on. Can the submission package be modified to add a section that adds a link to attachments? The answer is yes. This question revolves around, you can add attachments to a submission, but they're like in the message, and sometimes people don't know to look in there and to click in the download, and maybe create like another column where there's like simple HTML links also to the whatever attachments or additional materials. Yes, the answer is yes, but it's got to come behind some of these other things that we got to get done. That's all. So that's just the short answer. Let's move on. If a score is accepted under TGSAP, but the recorded video is no longer available at a later date, will this be grounds for removal from the scoreboard? It's not grounds for removal, no. It is what it does do, it allows somebody to raise a question about that score. They're going to go, the score's in the database, but the link to the video isn't there. I mean, I clicked the link and it's gone, and I don't really believe that this worked. I mean, I'm reading the comments. Everybody says that the video was legit. I don't know. I'm going to try to raise a question about this, and then there will be a process, of course, in general, of raising questionable scores, and it either will make it through that process or it will not. This is why I'm saying just upload your video to Twin Galaxies just to even avoid the remotest possibility of being put into that process. It doesn't mean that that process will work and you'll get it out. It's still going to be hard to get a score out once it's in. But when the evidence is there, the evidence is there, right? Perfect example is the reverse of that happened, right? Where a score went in, all the evidence was still there, and someone said, no, it's not, it shouldn't be in there, and then we just took a look, and you're like, you're right, he died more than 5 times. That's just boom, out, right? Have your video in there. It's not grounds for removal, but when the video's not there, you're giving people a chance to raise questions. That's all I'm saying.
So Jace, just a quick question on that.
Yeah.
Something we were talking about in the show was the idea of, not so much the idea, but the subject of people being lazy with their submissions. Just like, obviously the adjudicator should have caught it earlier.
Right.
But the person who submitted it kind of bears some responsibility. So the person who adjudicates against it, they lose 100 credibility. The person who submitted it, they lost like a couple submission points.
Okay.
In fact, they only lose 2 if
Yes.
they reject their score.
Yes.
You know,
Okay. So now you're talking about another part, which is which we haven't turned on yet, which is if
Okay.
you submit a score and it gets rejected, big hard penalty. So that makes people really make sure that what they're submitting is good stuff, right? So we haven't turned that on. Haven't gotten to the point where that penalty also is going to get assigned. It's being thought about. It's already built in. We could do it. But I'm not seeing abuse yet in that area. And also, as we're working on the system and trying to fix things like double clicks on the submission button and video upload problems, which is also why in the future, if a score is challenged and a video isn't there, was because they couldn't upload it, because our system couldn't take it, there will be this grandfathered period where if it was submitted before this time, you can't use that as the excuse because it was Twin Galaxies' fault for not being able to do it. If you have the performance, we'll figure out how to get it in there, you know. But it's the same sort of thing where baby steps, right? Eventually, you're correct in that as the more and more users are participating, they're going to start abusing that aspect of it. Well, it only cost me. I'll just try it and just see, and I'll just and that will of course trigger greater penalties for that. But it should be on a graduated system, just like the other stuff is, right? 1 rejection, not so bad. 2, it's getting worse. 3, it's costing you more. 4, oh my God. 5, you better hope that there's 2 ways to go about that. One is to knock the credibility, but I personally think it's better to attack the submission points, because if you're submitting something and getting it rejected all the time, it should just start costing you more and more to submit into the system, right? Like I've submitted 5 times knowingly that they're going to be rejected, but just to see if I could get it through. But because it was rejected 5 times, it's now costing me like 75 submission points each submission. And I'm only getting those submission points one way, by properly adjudicating. So it just starts to become not worth it to get rejected. instead of docking credibility, because right now credibility is really representative of your adjudication correctness. And so if we use other things like your submission correctness, it's a little bit. Right now we have such a clean measurement. I hope that made sense. Okay, next up. In the future, would it be possible for those submitting for adjudication to upload multiple videos to Twin Galaxies? Yes. The answer is yes. You should be able to upload, a series of videos, especially for marathons that have to be cut up. Boom, 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 boom. We just haven't. There's so much to engineer, so little time, and we're just trying to get all of the fundamentals done first. But yeah, that'll be something that will definitely be added. Moving on. Should we be accepting scores that aren't uploaded to Twin Galaxies directly? You should accept scores that provide an evidence package that you feel is credible. If it's not uploaded to Twin Galaxies directly, what it means is in the future, that score could get questioned. And that's for the person who's submitting to determine. It could get a question. Doesn't mean it'll get removed, but man. So the answer is yes, you should still accept scores that aren't uploaded. Just look at the evidence package, determine if you think it's a credible score. That's simple. That's it. Don't worry about whether it was uploaded to Twin Galaxies or not. Certainly encourage everybody to upload to Twin Galaxies because it's a way of preserving that score longer without it being questioned. But yes, answer yes. Moving on. The 3-digit MAME version is on the submission form. I talked about that. Can alternate Wolf versions be used now, or is the database not ready? You can, now at this point, you have to, when you submit a MAME score, it requires you to put in the Wolf MAME version number. It just currently won't display that Wolf MAME version number in the adjudication thread. But we should have that done within the next day or so. So just go ahead and start using it. Will unique tracks be allowed for games running in a field programmable, what's the G, graphics adapt? I can't remember. It's basically these programmable, chips with logic gates, and you got companies like, or hobbyists like J-Rock, basically creating hardware emulation instead of software emulation like MAME. They're emulating actual chips and building circuit boards, and it's really cool and neat, and it is arguably a way that like old arcade machines can be brought back to life. The answer is yes, but we'll have to create platforms based on specific FPGA implementations. So, because they're not all the same. So the answer is yes. That will be allowed, and it'll be cool, but it'll be its own platform separated away from MAME and everybody else. Is there any update in the posting the approved score? Yeah, right now, like you get a record in mobile, it's approved, it's accepted, and it doesn't show up in the database in the display. That's just a bug, and we'll have that fixed later today. It's not a big deal, but it has to be fixed. So the answer is yes.
Today? Oh.
Yeah, well, for me, I'm still going to be here at work for the next 12 hours, so yes. So that is the state of OTA Galaxies. Now I'm just going to open it up to general questions. If anybody has any, or any concerns, any rumors, gossip, things they want to chit-chat about, now would be the time. And again, try to get the people who are involved with MARP to contact me so we can figure out something. What's going on with emulated scores for non-arcade platforms? I'm not sure what you mean exactly. What would be?
I think he's referring to maybe the retro Uprising thing.
How let's see. Bottom line is the way our system, our ad track system will work is a platform will have to be requested and we'll determine if we will have that platform. But once that platform exists in the database, games and tracks can be added to it. So, for instance, if Retro Uprising, which is a cool site that has, I mean, that just, God bless them for just running the risk that they run. But they have various records and all this other stuff. You could theoretically, we could create a Retro Uprising platform on Twin Galaxies, and those performances could be sent into our adjudication process for those games. And you know, you could buy a track and then Twin Galaxies could be tracking those on its site. If the user base wanted to create those tracks, they could. Why is the sky blue? Well, the reason that the sky is blue is because my mama said that the crooked teeth makes the alligator ornery, and that's why the sky is blue. Is there ever going to be another SG-1 project? It's what, Stargate? Is there ever going to be another? What do you mean by SG-1 project? Are you talking about my trip to Stargate?
Jace, I don't want to contradict you,
yes.
but I believe the answer is medulla oblongata.
Oh no, my mama said that it's the teeth that make them ornery. That's all.
Yeah, no, that's medulla oblongata.
No, but my mama said, and she did right, and because that's what my mama said, and so there you go. Don't argue with my mama.
I shan't.
There, see, okay. I'd like to know about certificates. Yes, God, I want certificates so bad. So I was in this discussion. So the idea was, here's what I want to do, but I don't know if I'm going to do this now. I wanted to get a third-party company that specializes in certificates. And basically, they would do all the fulfillment of certificates. And we would build on our site, on the Twin Galaxies side, basically a validation program, right? So if you're number 2 on DigDug, our system knows that, and it will then talk to that third-party system and say, only this person can get this certificate. And I wanted the certificates printed on a very special kind of security paper that can't be duplicated, so that a Twin Galaxies certificate cannot be forged. No matter what, I want that. There's no way a forgery can take place. And with all the seals and all this other stuff. But even beyond the certificate, I wanted to provide options of like getting it framed, having plaques, having engravings, you know, and then you can just, where Twin Galaxies doesn't take any of your money for that, fulfillment is the third party is who you would deal with and pay for to get whatever you wanted, but only you could get it because it's your account and they check with the Twin Galaxies database. So it would provide way more options that are cool and awesome. And so I was in these conversations with this company that does it, and they just sort of like vanished. So I'm like, oh man, all that negotiation and work. So now I'm thinking, you know, maybe Twin Galaxies does the fulfillment itself somehow, and I spend a bunch of money on, you know, having, you know, printing and all this other stuff. I don't know, but I want to have the certificates back in play. I think, and I want them to be better than ever, and you know, even try to create a situation where if you want Walter Day's signature, like actual hand signature on it, I can negotiate with Walter Day to have them sent to him. Maybe he gets, you know, a couple dollars from the process or whatever, and there's all of that. We need that. We're going to have that. It's on the list. Just please wait. And that is some high quality H2O.
I have a question for you, Jace, on that, in that vein, which is the idea of a leaderboard for, say, genre or platform or something like that in the Twin Galaxies database. Sorry, my voice is going. And associated with that, perhaps, maybe a yearly trophy or something like that. I'm thinking.
There's. See, that's part
Actually,
of
if you just give me a trophy, I'm fine. That's all I need.
Well, here's the thing. Obviously, Twin Galaxies has to have its world championships, and throughout the year have various kind of world championships, and basically you use the scoreboard as the qualification rounds, right? Like the top 20 in these games are going to qualify to be at the world championships. World championships are here, yada yada yada. That's where there's trophies. That's where there's all that. So I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I also want to have leaderboards on Twin Galaxies of just like the participation on Twin Galaxies. I want to, you should be able to go to a page and see what everybody's credibility rating is, what everybody's kind of like, point count is, like, so that you can compete even that way if you wanted to, this guy, he's, how many correct adjudications they have, how many incorrect ones. You should be able to see those things. So that's on the list of items, which I think would just make the scoreboard even more fun to be on and participating. There was another idea that someone posted on the site that I thought was really good, and I can't remember it. And it related to something like that. You will be seeing, hopefully soon, like streams, member streams that are active, in a nice little sort of small summary window, so you can quickly see who's streaming if you want to click and watch them, all that stuff. What else? What other questions? What other secrets, rumors, gossip, concerns? Is Mike there, Mr. Sroka? He's probably got his mic off. Mike has his mic off.
Yeah, I do. It's back on.
Oh, do you have any questions, secrets, rumors, gossip you want to confirm, deny, raise?
No, not at all.
All right.
I don't know how you do it.
Well,
I guess I want to know that secret.
Well, here's how I do it. The reason Sroka doesn't have anything to throw at me is because I'll release those nude pictures I found of him, and so he's not going to say anything. He's on lockdown. He doesn't want the fig leaf pictures to go out.
You're just waiting for the value to go up of those. You're waiting for my stock to go up, then you'll do it.
I saw a question from Wes Copeland. So for a retro Uprising or non-arcade emulated platform, the community will have to add games and tracks for every single title to be tracked. It almost seems like the community would be reinventing the wheel. Well, what I'm trying to understand is, what is the alternative? What alternative are you thinking could be done or possible?
Well, I think I'm going to chime in since I realized it was a rhetorical question, but I'll chime in anyway.
Yeah.
So I think that the retro Uprising, I think they're awesome. I go there all the time, but I think that would really bloat the database. One alternative that is kind of being used is the idea of emulated software, and by that I mean like the EverDrive and the ROM chips. Basically just writable ROM chips. Makes them not really ROM, but you get the idea, like the flash things. So you're using original hardware, but the software on a chip and the ROM file from somewhere, presumably. And so hard to find titles, sort of like with MAME, only you do have to still use original hardware, but I think it helps with the legitimacy, assuming that the ROMs are legitimate. We find some way to make that happen. And it deals with the difficulty of finding obscure titles and expensive titles.
The short answer is we've built a system that can track anything, right? And if there's a user base that wants a platform to track stuff under, we can create that, but it's really going to be up to that user base to add those tracks that they think need to be tracked. I don't know how else to. The great thing about the adjudication system we have is it can adjudicate anything, right? We could take a picture of Don Atreides and say, is this a sexy ass dude or not? And then that picture
That's
goes
not even a
up,
question.
and the verify community could decide one way or the other and adjudicate him in or out on that basis, right? So
I think we should do Twin Galaxies, hot or not.
hot or not, yes, and it's just nothing but like console systems. You know, here's an Xbox 360 that's gold plated, hot or not. So, I mean, we can set up. One of the things that I'm talking to Guinness about, because Guinness is very excited about our whole system, is Guinness has video game records that Twin Galaxies doesn't normally track, like who can hold 10 Xbox games in each hand, you know, things like that. They're like video game related, but it's not scores. And we're trying to figure out how can Twin Galaxies track some of those things. And my thought is, well, what we need to do is create a Guinness World Records platform in the database, and inside that platform are these Guinness-y type non-score related achievements, and then Guinness can direct all of their user base who wants to participate in those kind of things over to Twin Galaxies, and Twin Galaxies can adjudicate those performances as well, right? And
So like Carrie Zawicki's 72-hour marathon?
yeah,
That kind of thing?
yeah, that kind of stuff, right? And you know, they're excited about that. But in order for us to do that, I have to dedicate some resources here internally to just basically deal with Guinness, those kinds of things. And that is money. So that you can see where the conversation goes really quickly when I'm talking to Guinness about that stuff. But it will be, you know, the good news is we'll figure out something. Now, let me look at the chat real quick because I'm missing things. It seems probably that doing it, but yes, do you go? Okay, I didn't miss anything. How many SNES cartridges can you fit in your mouth while balancing on one leg? Exactly. And this person can say, I can do 20, right? And then they videotape themselves doing 20. It's very easy to adjudicate something like that. You see the performance, you adjudicate it. But it has no place in the scoreboard. It needs to be its own platform with its own sort of thing. And I think we can do that.
Now, Super Famicom cartridges are smaller, so I think they should not be allowed.
Well, if you really want to have small cartridge, I guess we could use Game Boy.
TurboGrafx actually smaller, thinner anyway.
No, that's true. That's true.
Same here.
You don't want to use Odyssey 1 cartridges, trust me. They're a bit sharp. What else does the community have for me, question-wise? Rumors or gossip or things? How has the community been, now that we're like, you know, a number of months into this, and I was not present for the old Twin Galaxies eras. I was in the game industry, I was in the game world, but I was not in the old Twin Galaxies thing. How are we feeling in general? How's our collective spirit? Does anybody want to give me a clue?
I kind of said it. I mean, my opinion, of course, I said it during the last show, is, you know, everybody has these issues and things aren't perfect, but I'll tell you what, I think it's a lot better than what it used to be, and more people are more optimistic about it getting even better.
Good. Well, that's a good sign.
No question. Actually, I think one thing that Twin Galaxies currently lacks, I should be talking about the positive things, but of course I'm going to the negative, is simply not well-written instructions, but, you know, in your face, like, here's how you submit a score, here's how you do this.
Yeah, I agree. Well, you know what? On top of that, I think what we need to do is actually produce a video of how to do it.
Yes.
And obviously, I have a film and television production company, so we can produce that, and that's something that will get produced. It's like as we start closing out the beta period, you'll start to see more of that, like, hand-holding stuff, right? Because we're getting more and more people who are new to the whole thing, and certainly from the mobile phone stuff. You know, what I want to do is, once I know everything's up and working, it's good and it's great, I'll start spending money on the marketing and the PR of Twin Galaxies. I'm going to try to get booked on, like, Jimmy Kimmel, and just show the world. Do you realize you can go and be appreciated with your Candy Crush score? Like, you know, the mass consumer will be like, what? And then, you know, you show some performance, and you should, on the other end of the spectrum, here's a world record of Mario Bros. That Stephen Kleeseth set, you know, and you know, bring a couple gamers with me on that show or on Fallon, and that exposure, because everybody I show the scoreboard to goes, dude, this is awesome. Like they want to participate, right? So it's like there's a low barrier to entry once people know about it. But the big barrier is they just need to know about it, right? I think Adam Sandler's movie Pixels will drive a lot of interest. We're moving very close on the Man vs. Snake movie about Nibbler and Tim McVeigh and all that, and that movie is great. I've seen it obviously a number of times.
One thing I wanted to mention, I'm sorry, or ask about that, is I know in the ads there's some really foul language used, and a lot of people have issue with that. I don't have any kids, so, and I'm ex-military, so no big deal for me, but I think a lot of people are
Oh, you mean in
about
the
that.
trailer?
Yeah, in the trailer. I just wanted to mention
Yeah, I mean, it's beeped out. Like, it's beeped out, but you know, what are you gonna do? You gonna edit Dwayne Richard out? You know, like, are you gonna like?
Oh, no. If it's beeped out, that's cool, but it wasn't previously. I don't know if maybe it changed, but no, it wasn't beeped.
Oh yeah, the versions that we have now are beeped out. I know.
Oh, okay.
The one that I've seen most recently, and I think the one that I posted on the Twin Galaxies is beeped out. The original one back, I think, was just let's let it flew. I think, but I think it's been beeped out now.
Okay.
The movie is great. And I've watched like almost every video game documentary. The King of Kong, despite its controversy in the community, is a fantastic movie to watch for anyone. It's just entertaining, and it's like the pumping iron of, you know, and so okay, and Man vs. Snake, I would say, is very close to as entertaining as King of Kong. It's not quite as dramatic as King of Kong because they didn't manipulate the storyline. Like King of Kong is great because it's a construct, right? Like he made a movie, and so it looks like a documentary. It sells itself as a documentary, but really it's a movie, right? Man vs. Snake, they didn't do that. But as far as a documentary can be dramatic, it's very dramatic. And so anyway, we're moving really close to getting that out. And as such, I've recently purchased an original Nibbler arcade machine because I need to add on my personal to-do list a billion-point game. I can't watch that movie and not want to try a billion-point game. I can't get the world record, but you know, at least it's just a Perfect Pac-Man, Donkey Kong kill screen, a billion-point.
Bucket
they're
list.
telling me I only have 19 seconds, so I have to get off of this thing. But hopefully, I answered some questions, gave you guys a good update. I'll be back in a couple weeks, hopefully with really exciting news, and probably before that, the next time I do this, community ad track and everything will be up. So I gotta go.